Hi. I also started out doing a paper round, actually, and my dad likes to remind me of that all the time now. Are you in charge of delivering the papers? No, I'm not. So, turning strategy into action, that's what I'm going to talk to you about. So, just really quickly, about a quick sort of brief about me. I've been at The Guardian for 8 years. I've always sort of straddled this gap between strategy and delivery or implementation. I'm part of a small team at The Guardian. We're called the delivery team, and our remit is simple. It's to ensure The Guardian delivers on its strategy. I've put The Guardian in a bubble up here because I wanted to sort of stress that this is just our perspective. It's sort of one view and definitely not the only view. We're about 6 months into this process. I'm buoyed to see Nina looking so excited 12 months in, so there is hope at the end of the tunnel, because that's what I want to look like in 12 months, excited about this. And hopefully, you know, there's some good ideas and tools and techniques that can be applied to your own organisation. So really, I'm just going to talk about these three things in the next sort of 20 minutes or so. I think it's really important to get these foundations right as you move from sort of strategy exercises into delivery exercises. Having a clear common purpose, a set of goals that unify the focus of your people, and adopting a common language. Language is really important in our world. Emojis, as we see, are really important. Actually, check out the State of the Union in emojis, which Guardian US did last year. It's fucking amazing. So, quick background on The Guardian. Hopefully you're all aware of us as an organisation. I'm in Brighton after all, so I'm sure there's a high readership here, very liberal town. We're a unique news organisation. We are owned by the Scott Trust, which is there to sustain liberal journalism in perpetuity. We're not owned by a single shareholder, so we don't have the same kind of share pressures that other organisations do. We're not here to make money for one single evil media baron. This is a little extract from a leader that our longest-standing editor, C.P. Scott, wrote in 1921. It contained the famous quote, "Facts are sacred, but comment is free." And it was kind of his blueprint for what an independent journalism organisation should be. And I'll just read it out. "The world is shrinking, space is every day being bridged, physical boundaries are disappearing, what a chance for a newspaper." So as true almost 100 years ago as it is today. This is actually my favourite quote from the essay. Of the staff, "They need not, of course, agree on every point, but they should share in the general purpose and inheritance. They should be like a racing boat's crew, pulling well together, each man doing his best because he likes it." And this is sort of a lot of my focus at the moment, and certainly a lot of the work that we're doing in the organisation. Really quickly, founded in 1821, born out of the Peterloo Massacre, started off in Manchester, grew from being the 9th largest newspaper to one of the world's biggest, most influential news brands. This is our sort of online numbers. The numbers don't really make sense, but basically we're very big across the world. We're in America and Australia and the UK. And the last couple of years have been kind of amazing for us editorially. So, you know, from the NSA files, Edward Snowden, that was something we worked on in collaboration with a number of other news organisations, to phone hacking and the kind of fucked up stuff that went on there, to WikiLeaks, which I'm sure you're all familiar with. And this is amazing. Again, came out of the New York office. It's called The Counted, and it was the first ever public record of police killings in the United States, and led to the FBI going, oh yeah, maybe we should have one of those, and have since created one. It's astounding that it took us to do that. And it all led up to us winning the Pulitzer Prize in 2014. So, great news, doing cool stuff, we all love it. But it is really tough out there, right? So the majority of our traffic comes from mobile. That's where we see the lowest yields. So we make the least amount of money on mobile. Google are our friends, obviously. But this is one of my favorite stats. So in the US, in the first 2 quarters of this year, for every dollar that was spent, for every new dollar that was spent on digital advertising in that market, 85 cents went to Google and Facebook. And everyone else is scrabbling around for the other 15 cents. So really big challenge, big, well-funded organisations who we are very friendly with, but you know that's a challenge. And there's crazy disruption, right, going on in the market. So us and all kinds of media companies have to deal with things like BuzzFeed, again, doing amazing stuff, but growing in strength. Facebook seemingly kind of changing their algorithms on a whim. Things like Apple Watches, Amazon Echo that was just launched this week. People want news on those things, virtual reality. Google Glass. Well, not really Google Glass, obviously, but anymore anyway. So what are we doing about it? So in 2015, we appointed a new global editor-in-chief in Catherine Viner and a new CEO, David Pemsel. So two things are really important about their appointments. One, they were both internal appointees, and they already knew how The Guardian operated, they understood it, they believed in it, they were deeply passionate about the organisation. And secondly, they started within about 2 months of each other. So they sort of came together at this point in time, and that allowed them to have a sort of shared approach and shared vision to what we needed to do to address some of those really challenging market conditions. And obviously, importantly, Kath was our first ever global editor-in-chief, and I'm sorry it took us 195 years to reach that moment. We now have actually female editors-in-chiefs in New York, Australia, and the UK as well, so hopefully that's a positive thing. So what did they do? They came together, and the first thing they did was set up this thing called Project 2021. So this is the kind of strategy bit. In 2021, The Guardian is going to be 200 years old. So the exam question was, what's The Guardian going to be at 200 years old? It was as simple as that. We decided 6 years out was probably a bit too far to think, so we shortened it down to about 3 years, but we had the same basic mandate. And we conducted a full-scale strategic review of The Guardian. It went for 6 months. It was led by 4 of our ExCo team, but supported by strategy and delivery and finance and data. It was a really kind of collaborative effort. And it was amazing. And it led, really the first thing we did, produced these. So what it did was it produced 5 reasons for optimism for the organisation and 5 what we called unvarnished truths for the organisation. The reasons for optimism were things like the strength of the brand, unique ownership structure, journalism, etc. The unvarnished truths were things like, we have a challenge with the loyalty of our audience. Our business model is under threat, as I've already talked about. The scalability of some of our businesses wasn't really practical. But the unvarnished truths were really key to guiding our strategy, and they're the areas that we're most focused on addressing now. So if we can fix those things and allow them to flourish, then I think we'll be in a better place. Nina showed her triangle on a page. We also produced one of these. We ended up producing a strategy that was called the relationship strategy. And I think it is really key, though. It's kind of sort of easy to kind of knock them, but having things like this on a single page is really key. So, we didn't want a 90-page impenetrable strategy document. We wanted to have a piece of paper that anyone in the business could have, hold on to, put on their fridge at home, stick in their notebook, and refer back to and understand. And it contained all the things you see up there, mission, values, audience promise, etc. And it's really critical, I think, to ensure that that's something that's simple to use and interpret by the organisation. Our mission is really straightforward. It's always been the case to promote and sustain liberal journalism in perpetuity, and that's why we all show up. That's why we get out of bed in the morning and why we come to The Guardian, and that's our common purpose. But in doing the relationship strategy, we also effectively wrote our vision for the next 3 years, and it's this: over the next 3 years, a growing and far deeper set of relationships with our readers. I'm running out of time, so I won't read it all out. And the point about this is it's become our kind of guiding light, our North Star. The vision allows us to make decisions about what we will and won't do, and I refer to this on almost a daily basis when I'm talking to people about our priorities and resourcing and so on. But just as importantly, it's a tangible common purpose. It's sort of practical, it's pragmatic, it's accessible and makes sense to people. It's not lofty and sort of visionary. It's over the next 3 years we will do. And then underpinning this is a set of clear year 1 and 3-year aim statements that we constantly work to. The 2 bits of that vision, or the 3 words in the vision that I'm constantly thinking about, is our newly focused organisation, and it's that renewed focus that's enabling us to take some action. So this is one of the unvarnished truths that came out through interviews and looking at the organisation. Our organisation is too complex and insufficiently agile. This means we're not fit for a digital world. We wrote this almost a year ago, so I'm hoping it's not as true today as it once was, but everyone admitted this. This had been a sort of unspoken thing in the organisation, but we just put it out there and said to everyone, we admit this is a problem, let's fix this. So, just so you're aware, The Guardian, we're split into 3 main areas: departments, more often called silos, editorial, commercial, and digital. And each has their own culture and their own processes and their own identities, which are really important. They're the things that make them special. But they're also the things that sometimes get in the way. They're the things that kind of lead to that unvarnished truth. They can create complexity and conflict. And that's the sort of fundamental that we're seeking to address in a lot of this work. We're trying to break down some of those cultures and processes and identities and sort of rebuild them in different ways around the organization. So we introduced a thing called huddles. Again, none of this is rocket science. I'm not reinventing the wheel. I'm sure lots of you do this at your organization, but it was quite new for us. And a huddle is no more complicated than what it says up there. It's a cross-functional team working together on a defined objective for a specified period of time, right? So they're made up of people who can do, really importantly. They're not sort of senior leaders in the business who tend to, like myself, sit around and sort of think and talk and present at conferences. These are people who can actually do stuff. I don't do anything anymore except talk. They're set up for action. They're designed to test and learn and prototype and validate. Huddles often co-locate. They sit together on a desk. They have a defined focus. Sometimes people stop doing their day job and we drop them into huddles. And these huddles are designed to answer some of those really difficult questions that we're dealing with. Some of the feedback we've got is amazing. Some of it is there's so many smart people in the building. I didn't realize how many smart people there were in the organization. I look around some of these huddles and I realize some of the people in them have worked at the company for years. We hold on to people for a very long time. And they never even met the other person that they've been searching for that whole time to unlock the thing they've been trying to do. And so they're producing some really interesting ideas and results and tests and tangible things. It's not all been great, by the way. We've pissed off a lot of people as well doing this in some instances. But the idea is that obviously we're learning from all of that negative feedback. We constantly survey and ask people for their feedback. So we've been running huddles now for a couple of quarters, and they're really fascinating, and we're learning a lot of things. But most importantly, we're kind of breaking down some of those cultural barriers and rebuilding some of the trust between some of those silos that had developed. So if huddles is the way we sort of organize people, OKRs is the thing that we are starting to use to get them to define their focus and articulate what the work is that they're doing. Now, we haven't invented OKRs. Intel invented them in the late 70s. Google famously adopted them in 2001. They're used by a bunch of different sort of startup and technology companies. It's a really useful framework. You can Google it and have a look at it. There's some really useful stuff out there about it. But it's a really good way of getting teams to set their objective, which is a qualitative description of the outcome they want to achieve, and then back it up with some key results, which are measurable and ambitious, quantitative, but most importantly, they represent a successful outcome. They're not a series of tasks that you'll do to deliver that objective. They're the impact that you want those tasks to have to achieve the objective, if that makes sense. Another really interesting thing about OKRs, which I really like, is that they're designed to be as transparent as possible. So you need to make sure that they're available to the whole organization. So anyone can look at it and go, right, what are we doing this quarter to deliver that vision that we talked about at the beginning? They're just a shared framework, right? But what's interesting is that they're a shared framework that is being adopted by different areas of the business to define their focus, and it's introducing a common language, a common way of discussing what it is we're doing in any one quarter. So huddles is how people are organized, and OKRs is how they define their focus, and this is kind of how we deliver. The left-hand side is what we used to do, long-term manual planning. You'd get 8 months in, look at what people had done and go, holy shit, the world is very different now. Why have we spent all our time doing that? To moving to the one on the left, which is kind of multiple huddles, all working on different OKRs at any one time, and these kind of clear points throughout the year where we can come together and go, are we doing the right things? Are these huddles delivering the impact we wanted them to deliver? Are the teams made up in the right way? What needs to change? What's changed in the market? How has our thinking evolved over that time? Let's reorganize those huddles. Let's reset and define their objectives and their OKRs and set them off again. It's designed to make us more nimble, more focused on delivering strategy rather than sort of delivering new features or tweaks or things like that. So this is the most important thing, actually. And it's the bit I come back to time and time again, and it's kind of how I've hopefully tried to talk about some of this stuff today. Everything should cascade from one thing and roll back up to the other, right? So if someone is working as part of a huddle, and that huddle is focused on a quarterly OKR, and they can't connect that OKR back to the year one objective or the 3-year aim statements or the relationship strategy or the vision or actually the mission. I've missed the bubble out at the top there to sustain liberal journalism. then something has gone wrong somewhere. We've sort of messed that up along the line. But the key to this is ensuring that everyone is working to that same set of shared goals, that sort of same common purpose that cascades from that mission, and everyone is pulling together in the same direction, as CP Scott said all those years ago. I'm going to come in under time. That's astounding, isn't it? So, as I said at the beginning, we're only 6 months into trying this, and we're learning all the time. As you know, cultural change and this kind of change in big organizations takes a long time, and we're frankly getting as much right as we are wrong, but that's okay. But to ensure that we're sort of learning in that controlled way, we're just rolling this out to the organization slowly. So what we didn't say is overnight, the whole business needs to run in this way, and you need to live with it. So we've got about 13% of the organization at the moment working in this way. And by the end of the first year, we want to get to about 50%. And that's really just so that we can kind of test and learn with those 13% and refine the mistakes we make and learn from those and improve on the process and the exercise and the kind of cultural challenges so that people embrace it as they get exposed to it later on. So, in summary, I could just waffle for an extra like 3.5 minutes. I could just tell you about my weekend plans, couldn't I? Should I use it all up? No. There's no need. Okay, right. So, in summary, we're really lucky at The Guardian. We have a really clear mission, right? But we also now have this pragmatic and clear vision that I talked about earlier on. Over the next 3 years, we will ... And that's designed to help us make decisions, get everyone pulling in that same direction, and invest in this common purpose. And make sure it's all available and accessible and transparent, and here's all the stuff you need to do your work. We took a really long time putting those 3-year aim statements that I talked about and year 1 objectives in place. But they're really essential to enabling our teams to deliver against those quarterly OKRs. In any one quarter, how am I impacting on that year 1 thing, that 3-year thing? They unify the focus, and they actually empower us to say no as many times as we say yes. And, with the introduction of huddles and OKRs, the vision, the 1-year objectives, etc., we're adopting this common language across our departments or silos. We don't want silos anymore. We want teams and people that just talk to each other. We're attempting to kind of democratize that process so that everyone is talking on the same terms and expressing their needs in the same way, rather than it just being the person who shouts loudest in the room gets their own way. The combination of all these things is helping us build a real momentum in The Guardian into turning our relationship strategy into action and reworking the organization and changing the direction The Guardian takes. We're not there yet. As I said, we're 6 months into a 3-year program. There's lots more for us to do, but I think we're heading in the right direction, and we definitely are making progress. It is making change in the company. And I hope that gave you some insights and some interesting tools. I'm around all day, so I'd love to hear your thoughts on this and what you guys are doing. So that's it. Thanks very much.